Good morning, everyone. Today, we will be doing an analysis of the poem Do Something Brother by M. Gopalakrishna Adiga. We had done a brief introduction of the poem in the previous video. Here, we would be doing an analysis. But before that, I'll give you a brief introduction just to remind you of the previous one. M. Gopalakrishna Adiga was born in Mogeri, Kundanpur, SK district, Karnataka. He was a Kannada poet, scholar, novelist, and essayist. Adiga translated the works of Ibsen and Walt Whitman into Kannada. He included the individualistic experiences, aspirations, and ideologies of the Indian middle class in his modernism. His writings reflect humanity. He wrote a number of books and received several awards. About the poem, the poet ridicules the tendency of modern man to be up and doing without any concern about the consequences of his thoughtless action. Adiga points out the opposition between thought and action. The poet exhorts man to do all kinds of destructive activities. He incites to do some violent actions, to crush, to nip, to pull down, to break and burn, whatever is conveniently available to him. He asks his brother or companion to do something. He must not sit without work and pass his time in idleness. The poet's view is that movement is life and dullness is death. The poet urges man to bring about complete disaster at a fast speed in an ironic tone. He has to do or die. What is needed for him is quick action. He has to extract as much as possible from Mother Earth. After all, he is a man, and hence he should do like a man. He incites man to pull out all water from the well of life. According to the poet, idle men are burdens on the land. The poet wants man to do something to lighten the burden of Mother Earth. He declares that all this is right, natural, and necessary, and the whole poem goes on like this in an ironic tone. The lines, the first stanza, let me read it out before I explain. Do something, brother, keep doing something, anything. You mustn't be idle, pull out this plant, nip this little leaf, crush that flower, there is grass, run your brand through it, burn it like Lanka, tiny butterflies, parrots, sparrows, chase them and catch them, pluck their wings, pull out their fur and feather. There in the garden, jasmine and the banana's gold grow for the wild elephant's feet. The poet here incites man to do some violent action, to crush, to nip, to pluck, to break and burn, whatever is available and convenient. He asks his brother or companion to do something. He must not sit without work. His view is that movement is life and idleness is death. He may burn the grass just as Lord Hanuman burnt Lanka. He asks him to catch tiny butterflies, parrots, and sparrows, and then to pluck their wings, pull out their fur and feathers. He further says that jasmine flowers and bananas grow in the garden to be crushed under the wild elephant's feet. Therefore, man should destroy them also by trampling on them. In these lines, man is exhorted to do all kinds of destructive actions. Man is violent by nature. We will go on to read the second stanza. All over the walls, virility is master. Switches itch for your fingers. Close your eyes and pull down 20 of them. Earth, water, and the skies. They are all your geese with golden eggs. Gouge them out, slash them, do or die, they say. Disasters are the test for your genius's galloping dance. Something must crash every minute. Brother, act at once, do something. Thoughts, weights, and measures are all for the past, for the undying, ghostly treasures of the dead. All over the walls, the master switches are there, and man should itch his masculine fingers to pull them down. All nature in the form of earth, water, and sky belongs to him, and he has to exploit all these, just as golden laying goose was killed to get all the eggs at once rather than waiting for it to lay one egg a day. He has to pierce the objects of nature and cut them. It is said, do or die. There is no third option for him. He has to bring about complete disaster at a fast pace. Every minute something has to be broken and destroyed. He has to act without losing any time in thinking or pondering about the consequences of his action. If he thinks too much, his thoughts will retard from action. The poet says that the weights and measures of thought belong to the past and to the treasures of the dead. What is needed is quick action. Let me go on to the third stanza. There is the forest, cut it clean to the stump, slit it for your buntings, you have the axe and sickle. The saw and the knife, go harvest all the world with a flourish of your hand, but you meet winter mists, walls of fogs, walls that line the space between face and face, and the road that sighs and breaks in two under your eyes, a couple of mountain peaks that rear their hoods and lower upon your head, or lightning wings from sirens that sing in every tree. Do they plunge you into anxieties and dilemmas of reason? No, this won't do. You are a simple man, and that's your strength. Horse sense and the blinkers are your forte. The poet asks the man to cut the forest and reduce the trees to the stump and then cut them straight to make buntings for decorations. Buntings are small flags for decoration. He has all the implements like the axe, the sickle, the saw, and the knife. He has the strength to destroy the whole world with the sweeping movement of his hand. The poet exhorts man to bring about disaster by his harsh and destructive action. The poet further says that there may be impediments in his way, like winter mists, walls of fogs which divide the space in the two-way road, and the mountain peaks that raise their heads. There may be hidden dangers from the sirens hidden in trees, which may plunge him into worries and put him into dilemmas, where he has to choose between two courses of action. However, he is not to be discouraged by all these impediments. After all, he is a simple man. He has practical wisdom about ordinary life. This is his strong point. He has to do all his destruction in spite of impediments. Moving on to the next stanza. Eat what comes to hand, crush what you touch, cut the hindering vines. Mother Earth herself, though tired, lies open to the skies. There is still flesh on her bone, marrow for your hunger. Come, come, brother, never forget that you are a man. The poet here exhorts man to act like a man. Since he has manly strength, he has to eat whatever is conveniently available to him, crush whatever he touches, and cut off the vines that obstruct his way. The poet urges man to exploit Mother Earth to the maximum. Although she is exhausted, yet she still has flesh on her bone and marrow inside her bone. He has to extract as much as possible from the Mother Earth to satisfy his hunger. After all, he is a man and he should act like a man. Man's selfishness and desire to exploit the Mother Earth are reflected in these lines. Let us go on to the final stanza. Then there is the well of life, rope, the wheel, the axle, pull out all the water, reach the last dryness of the rock, grope with the grappling iron, we for victory, brother, break down the atom, reach for the ultimate world within. Find God's own arrow and aim it straight at the heart of God's own embryo world. Do something. Anything, brother, idle men and our burdens on the land. Do, brother, do something. Keep doing something all the time to lighten Mother Earth's loads. That is right, that is natural. This is the only thing needful. The poet incites man to pull out all the water from the well of life without caring about the other people around him. He has the means, the rope, the wheel, and the axle to draw all the water for himself. Even when he reaches the rock bottom of the well of life, he has to grope for water within the with the grappling iron. After all, for him, V stands for victory and has to achieve success. Man has to split the atom and reach the nucleus of it to gain energy inside the atom. He should acquire God's arrow and aim at destroying God's world, which is yet to be born or which is in the early stages of development before birth. The poet incites man to do something since idle men are burdens on the land. The poet wants man to do something to lighten the burden of man, and he declares that all that is right, natural, and necessary. Here, as I told you earlier, the whole poem is in an ironic tone. Irony, as you all know, is something when a poet wants to say the opposite of what he means. So, here, he does not want the man to plunder Mother Earth. He wants all of us to save Mother Earth, but while we are doing the opposite. Thank you.